Hello, beautiful and powerful women. Welcome to Susan Unleashed. This podcast is for any woman who wants to live a gorgeous life on her terms and who knows that not only is being a woman enough, it is the key to everything. I'm your host, Susan Elizabeth, certified professional coach, #1 best-selling author, and Energy Leadership Index master practitioner. I fiercely support women who are passionate about elevating their lives while embracing their truest selves. Are you ready to unleash your power? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Susan Unleashed. I can't wait to talk about this one today, overwhelm. This topic is a really good one because who hasn't experienced overwhelm in our life? So there's a quote that I love that really resonates with me, and it goes like this. You can't calm the storm, so stop trying. What you can do is calm yourself. The storm will pass. That is so true when you really think about it. Like a storm is just out there being what a storm is, and how you respond to the storm is how you respond to the storm. So I have the best news ever. Are you ready for this? Best news ever. Overwhelm is an emotion. And as you all know, we know that what we create in our mind, like the thoughts in our mind create the feelings, and the feelings create the emotions, the outcome, the actions. And overwhelm is an emotion. It's a result of the thoughts in your head. So is that like the best news ever? Because when you can change your thoughts, you can change your emotions. Best news ever, right? Are you with me on this? Okay, follow me if you're not. So our thoughts create our emotions create our actions. We've talked about that on the last couple of podcasts. And overwhelm is an emotion that's created by our thoughts. So best news ever is change your thoughts, change your life. And let me give you an example of how I experienced overwhelm. This was a really big thing for me. So at work, in my corporate career, I have had a lot of responsibility. And for years, I would go through my life and go through my career with a constant state of being overwhelmed. So that, having a responsible leadership position, working for a major corporation, global corporation, compounded with, I usually was single, or if not, I was dating somebody or had a boyfriend. But so I had to run my whole household. I lived by myself, took care of my animals, took care of my entire life, and had this responsible job and was out living life. And I was constantly feeling like I was in a state of overwhelm. And when you're constantly plugged into that energy and you constantly have this feeling of exhaustion, anxiety, tiredness, I was breaking down. I was getting sick. I had one upper respiratory infection after another. It was like I was good for like 3 to 4 a year, but I would power through it because I had so much to do and so much to deal with and so much on my plate. So I was anxious. I didn't sleep well. And the best news ever was when I learned that overwhelm was not out there. It was in here. It was how I responded to the overwhelm. That changed my life, but I couldn't quite get my mind around how to do that. So it's about mindset. And the best news ever, not enough time, too much to do, too much work to do, never having enough, always feeling overwhelmed, always being in a tornado state, right? So we choose our thoughts. And so the thoughts I was choosing were, there's so much to do. I have so much responsibility. I have to take care of so much. I have to do all this. I have to do all that. And it was always like going, which caused burnout. And I was constantly stuck in the storm. And I thought I was the storm. And the storm that was out there, I thought I was that. And I was resisting that. And what you resist really persists. It really shows up. So when the storm is blowing by, what I now know is that I can't change the storm, or I don't want to go get caught in the storm. I come back to myself. I shut the windows so I'm protected. I grab a blanket. I'll watch a good movie. I'll read a good book. If the power goes out, okay, I'll deal with that. The power will come back on eventually. I might cook a good meal. Whatever that is, I change how I'm responding to that horrendous. Storms can be beautiful. Storms can be powerful. Storms can be threatening. Whatever's going on out there, I get to choose how I respond to that. So I will take care of myself. And then I'll find ways to ride out the storm or to ignore the storm, knowing that I'm safe and protected because of the way I'm choosing to show up for that, right? So with overwhelm, it's funny because now that I've worked through and I have the understanding of overwhelm, and I want to share with you today the understanding of overwhelm and then some ways to overcome overwhelm, the ways to deal with overwhelm in your life. And there's some pretty simple ways to do it. Now, it takes work and it can be challenging work to do and you have to stay at it, but it can be overcome. And I can tell you now that when I've worked through how to overcome my overwhelm, and it took years. All of you, I want you to all understand this. It took years. But now on the other side of it, when I look back and I see and I understand, I can see it. It is so clear to me when somebody's in overwhelm and they don't know how to get out of it. So my job as a coach and my job as somebody who wants to help others is to help them, to bring attention to it, to bring awareness to it, to ask them questions, and to even give some ideas and some tips on how they can maybe overcome the moment or overcome the overwhelm altogether in their life. So I want to mention that there is an energy in overwhelm. There's like a buzz, and it's a constant buzz. And in this buzz, we have to be able to define a new energy, to go tap into a different energy that's much healthier. Because when you're living in a state of overwhelm, there's a constant high from it. There's a constant buzz around it. And we need to unplug from that, and we need to plug into and go find and get our energy from something that really benefits us so much more, that serves us better, especially as women. I think back to the years of overwhelm that I spent and the exhaustion that it created in my life, that I created all that. And I felt like it was happening to me when actually I was creating that. Now, yes, there are stressful times. Stress, how you respond to stress it's a whole other topic. But when I learned, well, let me just finish the thought on stress. So, life is busy. Life can be extremely busy. Life is happening, and there can be many things compounding on each other to create busyness. And it can be overwhelming and it can be stressful. But when you can stop in the moment, when you start feeling like you are getting stressed out, when you are having anxious, when you can't sleep, when you are going into a state of overwhelm, when you can step out of that and go find a way through whichever way your path is, the way that you deal with this, and find a new way to respond to that and to not respond to that, will change your life. It is, ladies, it's life-changing. We don't have to live that way. And when I show up at work or when I'm with my clients and they're in overwhelm, it's so evident, it's so clear when you know how to respond to it, when you know how to manage stress, when you know how to manage overwhelm. Because again, overwhelm is just an emotion that's a result from your thoughts. So let me share with you some ways that overwhelm can be addressed. It can be overcome. So some ways or some tips of how to really navigate this. So first, schedule time for yourself. How many of you actually carve out time on your calendar every day? Like I'll plan for the week ahead and I'll carve in my time. That comes first. There's already things on my calendar anyways, but I will go carve in my time. Little breaks here and there, lunch break, breathing breaks, meditation breaks, just a break to walk away. Like that comes first. And making sure that you have enough sleep and time for sleep. So I'm not overcommitting, because sometimes I get so excited to live life that I will overcommit myself. So scheduling in time where I have downtime in addition to uptime and playtime and living lifetime. So really important to be able to schedule in that self-time, and really protect that and be fierce about it. And let me share with you, I would never schedule time for myself, ever. I would always put everybody else first. Like, how many of us women do that? How about like almost everybody? Have we done that? Like we know how to do that really well. We're nurturers. We take care of others. So naturally, we're going to like always be taking care of the people we lead, our careers that we love, our families that we love, our friends, life, our house, whatever that is. And I would never say no to things. And so when I finally started saying no, because I just, I was showing up at things that I didn't even want to be at. It wasn't bringing me joy. And then I was resenting myself and it just didn't feel good. So when I could start showing up for myself and taking those breaks, like I just felt better. It was like, it just relief from the overwhelm. So really, really being firm and having boundaries, like where to draw the line. Really, no kidding. Put yourself first. Schedule time for sleep. Schedule the downtime. Like I'm really intentional about the time that I have to have quiet time, downtime, rejuvenation time. And it's not just the spa and the manicure and the pedicure and the facial. It's time to just be. And big enough chunks of time to think and to allow. That's really important. So that is first tip number one. Second, another way that you can do this is watch your language. Watch I have to do this. I have to do that. There's so much on my plate. Watch, how about choosing a new thought that will create a new emotion? Because when you say, I have to do this, I have to do that, that creates overwhelm and anxiety and stress. Why don't you choose to say things like, I get to, I choose to, I get to go do this, I get to go to work, I choose to do that. I choose to take my son to the baseball game. I choose to take my daughter to ballet lessons. I choose to cook dinner. I choose to get carry out because I'm too busy. Instead of, I have to cook dinner, I have to do this, I have to run around and do that. No, you don't have to do you don't really have to do anything. So if you can watch the I have to's and shift them into I get to, I choose to, doesn't that feel better? You won't feel overwhelmed. You're going to feel like, oh, yeah, I feel better. I feel lighter. I feel freer. I feel more in the flow, right? So it shifts how you feel when you can do that. Okay, next tip. Watch those thoughts. Watch your thoughts and change that language. Watch your thoughts around, I am so busy. I have so much on my plate. I have so much to do. My to-do list is a mile long, almost like you're proud. I used to be that way. And when I changed my thoughts and I changed the words that I chose, and I chose that language around there, life changed. Instead, when you choose those thoughts like, I'm so busy, you're going to feel that way. Well, I have so much to do. You're going to feel feelings from that thought that don't feel good. So when you can actually choose words and language like, there's enough time, I will figure this out. okay, we all have a to-do list. I'm going to do these. This is critical today, and I'm going to find a way and I'm going to get this done. And the rest of it, if I get to it, great. If not, I'll do it tomorrow or next week. Do you see how different that feels? It feels better, right? So really be mindful of the language, the thoughts, the words that you're choosing as you're describing your day, your week, your life. So the next one is, I love this one. It's the shoulds. I love to tell my clients, stop shoulding all over the place. So many times I hear this so much, especially from women, like, you should do this, I should do that. Sometimes should is shame and could. So I was coaching a client one time. I just love this client. And she kept going to a place of, well, I should do this, I should do that. And I said, hold on a second. May I bring something to your attention? And she said, well, of course. I said, do you know how many times you just said should? And she goes, yeah, I think I do. I said, well, I just wanted to point that out. So please go on, tell me more. So as she was going on, the shoulds kept wanting to come into her story she was telling about her experience. And so I was watching and witnessing her and how she was being aware of it now. Like, she wasn't even aware of it. Or if she was, she didn't give it attention. But she truly didn't have that true deep awareness. So when she became aware of the shoulds she was doing, and then we could call it out, and she and I got to sit together and we got to witness her brain choosing thoughts and choosing words like I should. And then we could examine that. We could dig in there. We could unearth what was underneath the shoulds, and then come back to shifting the language, shifting the thought pattern, shifting the outcome, the emotional outcome. She doesn't use the should word anymore. She's like that. Oh, that was the old me. I don't even do that anymore. I used to have like this constant shame, like I needed to do this from childhood or from family issues. And now she gets to stand in herself and who she is today without showing up like, I should do this. I have to do that. I need to do this. Should isn't even in her vocabulary anymore. And I'm so proud of her. So this is something that I want to bring forward and just put out there that, stopping the shoulds, stop shoulding all over the place, come back to yourself and the projections into the future, because like, I should do this. That's like a projection into the future too. And, it's like going to that future place like that, watch that, stop that projection in the future, because the brain knows and understands images. It understands thoughts. So when you can stop the shoulds and come back and choose the images of who you want to be, I want to be in flow, and I want to be in ease, and I want to be in energy that I'm plugged into that feels good. And the thoughts that I want in my life are ones that serve me, like, I have enough time. I have a lot of responsibility in life. Yes, that's true. But I will find a way to achieve this. I will find a way to do this or do that. And I know I have the resources within me. And if I don't know them, I will reach out and get the resources to help me find a way to do that. Okay, next tip. So when you stop the shoulds, what would it feel like? So I think the next tip is, I want you to really pay attention to how you feel. So what would it feel like to stand in knowing that there is enough time, that there is a flow that you can tap into and flow with the flow and have ease, not easy, ease, and have patience and have enoughness. And know that it will get done. Isn't it funny? You always seem to know how to get something done, right? But when you notice the thoughts that feel better, let me back up for a second. When you notice the feelings that feel better, the thoughts that you have in mind are thoughts that serve you. So, I go back to thinking about my team, and, there's somebody, on my team who, she's constantly showing up like there's so much to do. And it's just like this tornado energy. And when I bring it to her attention, she really doesn't want to step out of that. I think she really likes that energy. So she's just not ready enough. But when I recognize it, I'm like, there is another way. You don't have to be in this. She's not ready yet to do the work. And so she's living life in a tornado. They are the tornado. And, I show up and I know for me, when I go into tornado mode, it's, it'll affect people around me. So I immediately quickly pull myself out of that mode. But when I can do the work and I can see it clearly in them when they're a tornado. I can see it clearly in myself when I want to get overwhelmed. And one of the things I also like to do, so here's another little tip, is I go out in nature too. That is something for me. Now, this isn't for everybody, but when I know that I am really overwhelmed, when it's getting to me and I can't control my mind and I'm trying really hard to step out of the overwhelm and I'm trying to choose better thoughts, but my mind keeps going in there and it's resisting. I know in that moment to walk away and either go down and exercise. Better yet, if the weather doesn't allow for that, if the weather doesn't allow me to, if the best thing I can do is step away and I will go out in nature. If I can't do that, I'll go exercise. I have an exercise bike and I lift weights. I will go do that. What I prefer to do is to go out in nature, to go out for a walk or a bike ride. That shifts everything. Get out of my head and get into my body. That is another really, really important tip. And if you don't know this, try it. And if you do this, notice and remember that when you do it, how good you feel. Even if it's a 10-minute walk around your block, even if it's just standing on your porch, breathing in the air, looking and admiring your garden or the gardens, or standing out and just feeling the sun on you and breathing in that moment. Like, it really shifts things when you can get out of the tornado and go take that break and go move your body, get in your body. And for me, what does it? It's nature. It's being around beauty, because beauty is one of my values, and nature. I love nature. It shifts things. It almost like takes all that negative energy and I just release it, and it just takes it all away from me. So it's really like picking a new energy to tap into. So the process that I go to become the person that I want to be, and, really committing to that is, stopping the shoulds, watching my language, getting out of, choosing, it's choosing new thoughts. It's like getting out of the I have to's, getting into the I get to, I choose to, and really committing and becoming her with these little actions, these little habits, creating new habits, bringing awareness and creating new feelings from the new thoughts. This stuff takes time, but it's the tiny little steps that you take each day, or in the awareness at the moment. Even if you're 10 minutes into it, when you become aware of that, step out of it, step back from it, step away from it. And remember, stop the shoulds, stop the I have to's, go to the I get to's, watch your language. There's so much to do. Get out of that. Choose different language that better serves you. And when you commit to this practice and practice on who you want to really become and what you really want to feel, like, who wants to feel overwhelmed? I think sometimes we want to feel an energetic, high vibe, and that's okay. But be really clear to not go there from a place of overwhelm. Choose a different place to get there. Choose a different place to get to that. Like, you don't have to stand in the overwhelm to get that. And what doesn't feel good doesn't feel good. Good feels good, bad feels bad. But it's the steps in the practice of what you'll choose and what you decide. And what you decide to put in alignment with who you want to be and the kind of life that you want to live it's so important. And that flow and that ease will become so available to you. Okay, ladies. How is that? Those are some tips for overwhelm. Overwhelm it's not something you have to live with. There is another way. Does it feel better when you know there's a choice? Does it feel better when you know that you have the power to choose new thoughts And if you need help with this, reach out, email me, go to my website, susanelizabethcoaching.com, reach out to me, connect with me, reach out to the community there. There are ways, listen to this podcast again, write it down, journal about it. There are so many ways to step out of overwhelm, and you don't have to live life this way. All right, that's a wrap for today, ladies. Until the next time, go out, live life, get rid of the shoulds. Step in the you get to, you choose to, I get to choose to do this. I get to show up for life how I design it. Go live that life. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you would leave me a review or share it with someone else who may enjoy it too. To stay connected with me, please head on over to susanelizabethcoaching.com and make sure that you sign up for my tips on how to live an unleashed life full of passion and purpose. Until next time, go live an unleashed life.